Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to paint their door a vibrant shade of blue. Others have the need to decorate their bathroom with fish, anchors, and other nautical items. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
Hey everyone, welcome back again. Laszlo Montgomery here with another China History Podcast episode. Just a quickie for you today. Last August, 2023, some of you may recall I introduced the life of Chinese-American artist and star of the silver screen, Key Luke. And if you remember, at the outset of that episode, I was mulling over the idea of presenting either the life of Key Luke or of James Hong. So I thought, well, Key Luke was 25 years older than James Hong, so let's do him first, and we'll reserve James Hong for another day. And that day has come. I was in Redondo Beach a few days ago with an old friend of mine, and I told him, I was working on this episode on James Hong. And his predictable response was, "Who?" So I Googled an image of him and showed it to my friend, and he was instantly familiar. He said, "Oh, yeah, that guy." So let's take a look at his life. Like most Chinese Americans who immigrated or grew up here prior to the 1950s, James Hong's ancestry was in the Quanguo Diyi Qiaoxiang, the first home of the overseas Chinese, the city of Taishan, or Hoisan. Wu Hanzhang was born on George Washington's birthday, February 22nd, in the year 1929, just in time for Black Tuesday, the stock market crash, and the Great Depression. Though, at that time in China, the Nanjing decade was in full swing, and China was enjoying the post-warlord era, calm before the storm. James Hong's early life wasn't a part of all that exciting history. He was born in the Twin Cities, in the land of 10,000 lakes, Minneapolis, Minnesota. His father, Fok Hong, went by the name Frank Wu Hong. His mother's name was Li Soifa, and the couple went from Hoisan to Hong Kong and then to Canada, later settling in Chicago, my hometown. The family later took that 6.5-hour drive northwest to Minneapolis. And this would have been in the 1920s. Is that familiar Cantonese surname that in Mandarin is pronounced Wu, Kotian Wu. So James Hong's real surname is Ng. Not sure how he ended up with the Hong surname, perhaps from his father's full name, Ng Fok Hong. In the United States, at least, Chinese with that Ng surname had to resign themselves to having it pronounced Ing their whole life if they grew up here. There was one in my high school. Like many Chinese immigrant families used to do, his parents took him to Hong Kong for his early life, looked after by his extended family, where, during these formative years, he would be enveloped in Chinese culture. In 1938, thanks to the trauma in China caused by the start of the Second Sino-Japanese War, the family moved him back to Minnesota. There, James Hong spent his youth in Minneapolis's Chinatown, where his father ran a yaodian, or Chinese apothecary. I read in a couple places his father was also an elder in the local Hipsing Tong. In several interviews, James Hong said that his earliest inspiration was the time he saw Peking opera performers at his father's shop, which also served as a local Chinatown gathering place. James attended Central High School, an institution that, besides James Hong, boasts a few other celebrity alums. Eddie Albert from Green Acres, immortal journalist Eric Sevareid, and the artist himself, who left us all too soon in 2016, Prince Rogers Nelson, a.k.a. Prince. Central High was shuttered in 1982 after 122 years of service, educating the young people of that part of town south of the downtown Minneapolis area. 1940s America, when Asians were Oriental or Asiatic, the smaller the town, the higher the heat Asian Americans faced on the streets. The Chinese population of Minneapolis in 1950 was about 1,200, and I'm sure James Hong wasn't the only one in the Twin Cities who had to endure the whole regimen, but he put up with racism and all its many guises, subtle and not so subtle. Otherwise, it was a rather mundane early life. He ended up studying civil engineering at the University of Minnesota, and after being drafted during the Korean War, he joined the National Guard and ended up at Fort Novosel in Alabama. It used to be called Fort Rucker, but Edmund Rucker, being a Confederate colonel and all, well, he faced a similar fate that many figures faced after they were later judged by history. Here's where James Hong got into the entertainment business. He had been doing celebrity impressions since he was a kid in Minneapolis, attending Westminster Presbyterian Church. After acquiring a reputation for his impressions, he ended up in the entertainment branch of the military, and between 1952 and 1953, he entertained the troops rather than facing grim prospects on the Korean Peninsula, fighting against Peng De-hwa and Kim Il-sung's troops. In 1953, 24 years old, James Hong and his family took that most famous of highways in America, Route 66, and drove west through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City, Amarillo, Gallup, Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino, and finally to the city where I am now recording this, Los Angeles, California. He had a good friend from Central High School named Don Parker, who also moved out to L.A. He and James formed a comedy team called Hong and Parker and began performing in clubs all over town. He finished his civil engineering degree at USC and put it to use by day working for L.A. County, and at night he and Don performed in front of live audiences. He had the same Hollywood dreams as millions of others, and living in L.A. was a big plus as he was closer to the action than others with the same dreams. The downside was that, come the 1950s, for Asians, where the acting part was concerned, it wasn't such an easy business to get into. But if you aspired to be a face in the crowd or part of a Mongol horde, there was plenty of work. He did manage to get on Groucho Marx's show, You Bet Your Life, and did a few impressions of stars, including of Groucho. He was a big hit on Groucho's show, and he was able to parlay this into more opportunities. And with this wind in his sails, he was able to secure an agent who got him parts here and there, as well as voiceover work, redubbing soundtracks of Asian films. In past CHP episodes about Anime Wong and Chinese American entertainers and that Key Luke episode from last year, it's no secret that as far as the acting side of this business, for Asian Americans, there was a huge barrier to entry. If you were lucky to get a role, you played the role of a Chinese or a Japanese. There were still decades to go before Asians were playing leading roles in Hollywood. James Hong later said that in those days, Asian Americans were heavily typecast and left to perform these, quote, gimmick roles thrown in there to make people laugh. End quote. Despite the times, James Hong didn't give up, recognizing that Hollywood was a tough nut to crack for Asian Americans looking for roles. In 1965, together with Mako Iwamatsu, Hong helped to establish the renowned Asian American theater group, the East-West Players. Mako Iwamatsu was a Japanese immigrant from Kobe, a few years younger than James Hong. In 1966, he had been nominated for an Oscar and a Golden Globe in the Best Supporting Actor category for his role in the Steve McQueen classic, The Sand Pebbles. The movie was about a fictional river gunboat patrolling the Yangtze River in 1920s China. In that movie, Mako, an ethnic Japanese, played a Chinese character named Po Han. The Chinese actor, once again, didn't get the role. It went to a Japanese instead, and the American movie-going public was none the wiser. The East-West Players' first production was Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon. They had a whopping $150 budget to get this show made. The East-West Players, now in its 59th year, has served not only as a temple for Asian American theater and the arts, but also was a launching pad for many Asian American actors who have gone on to achieve success, stardom, and greatness in Tinseltown. Almost 3/4 of the Asian American actors around today have at least some connection to this theater group. Check them out at eastwestplayers.org. The theater's located in the Little Tokyo area adjacent to downtown LA. This theater group that James Hong helped to co-found is both the first and the longest continuously running Asian American theater group in the country, and continues to serve as a platform for artists of color and has been a forum to advocate for diversity in the performing arts. Into the 1950s and 60s, James Hong never had to look too hard for work, but he later lamented that, quote, "We were given the side parts as coolies or distressed Asians being rescued by the white guy. We were underlings," end quote. 1957-58, James caught a break, getting the role of number one son in The New Adventures of Charlie Chan. Playing in the lead was Irish actor J. Carrol Naish. Naish, by then, had acquired a stellar reputation portraying various ethnicities on film. He was even called Hollywood's one-man UN. Yeah, 1957. Hollywood was still having trouble finding suitable Asian actors to play in these roles. James Hong didn't have anything good to say about Naish except that the man was a racist. He recently recalled, quote, "One day I was off stage, just giving him the lines, and he's on camera, and I happened to miss one line. He just charged up to me and said, 'What do you think this is, a school for Chinese actors?' I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. He came at me, and I was ready to fight, but he didn't swing. He just went to his dressing room, and he had me fired. That shows you the deep prejudice he had inside, and that hurt a lot. It took me years to recover from that. I had to go see a psychiatrist," end quote. From the 1950s to the 70s, he was never out of work. Another career milestone came in 1961 with his role in the Flower Drum Song. James Hong, then 32 years of age, played the role of the head waiter at the Celestial Gardens. This wasn't the first, and wouldn't be the last time James Hong appeared in a role working in some capacity inside a Chinese restaurant. And for the next half-century, I guess you could say, James Hong became ubiquitous in Hollywood. In all, he acted and did voiceover roles for more than 450 TV shows, 150 movies, 32 shorts, and with the advent of video games, he lent his familiar voice to those as well. And like Key Luke, James Hong counted among a small group of Asian American actors who was on all the studio's speed dial whenever there was a need for a Chinese, Japanese, or even a Korean. The 1970s and 80s, James Hong was firmly established as one of the most durable and memorable character actors around. He wasn't a star in the Jack Nicholson, Clark Gable, and Harrison Ford sense, but he appeared in the same movies with them, and as character actors do, they enhanced the story, and sometimes, in just one scene, they helped make the movie. As a character actor, James Hong always played distinctive and supporting roles. Like other character actors, he wasn't the main star, but always helped the star to shine. Think of names like Jason Robards, Martin Balsam, Brian Dennehy, Alan Rickman, or Wilford Brimley. For me, it was the 1974 cinema classic Chinatown when I saw James Hong for the first time as Khan, the butler and fixer for the complicated Evelyn Mulwray, played by Faye Dunaway. I was 15 that year when Chinatown came out. By then, James Hong already had more than 100 credits to his name. That was the role that introduced me to James Hong. He played a key role in the climactic ending. Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown. Now it's a half-century later, and throughout the decades, James Hong has been dropping into my world with appearances in movies, on TV, and as a voiceover artist in animated shows. And like comfort food, he always brings a smile to my face. In 1980 came his role as the Japanese general in Airplane. Then came Ridley Scott's 1982 sci-fi classic Blade Runner, where he played Hannibal Chu, the eyeball designer and craftsman who produced the eyes for the Tyrell Corporation's Replicants. In 1986 came the biggest role in his 57 years when he appeared as David Lo Pan in the John Carpenter classic Big Trouble in Little China. As Lo Pan, James Hong played the main villain, cursed by none other than the first emperor of China himself, Qin Shi Huang. In the movie, he was desperate to break the curse, which denied him a human body. Lovers of that classic, no doubt, remember that in order to break that curse, he had to marry a woman with green eyes. That ends up being Miao Yin, played by Susie Pye, January 1981, Penthouse Pet of the Month. Yeah, good old Jack Burton. Kurt Russell, never looked better. That was an unforgettable performance and a major role for James Hong and propelled his career into an even higher trajectory throughout the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. He played in so many TV shows and movies. To name them all is like a laundry list of every single memorable show from those decades. If any Americans out there want to take a trip down memory lane, go read James Hong's IMDb listing. Hard to find a show he didn't act in. Last week I got home and my wife was doing one of her favorite pastimes and watching old Seinfeld episodes. And she was watching the classic 1991 episode entitled The Chinese Restaurant. In this unforgettable role, James plays the maitre d' who antagonizes Jerry and Elaine while George, pre-cell phones, is desperately trying to make a call on a payphone. They keep asking the James Hong character, what's taking so long for a table? And he keeps assuring them that the table will be ready in 5-10 minutes. I love that episode. Hong worked with Disney as the voice in 1998's Mulan, playing the scheming advisor to the Emperor Chi-Fu. He was also a voice in all the Mulan video games that followed the success of the movie. Into the 2000s, James Hong's distinctive and familiar voice is heard in so many animated features and shorts and in video games. And as the gaming industry caught fire and hundreds of millions of people began to acquire their addictions, James Hong was again in constant demand. His voice is heard in Diablo 3 and 4, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Black Ops 2, and many, many others. Since the 2008 blockbuster Kung Fu Panda, his Mr. Ping character has appeared in all 4 of the movies, plus the video games and TV shorts. James Hong has never been more famous than he is right now. And it didn't hurt his career to be cast in the role of Michelle Yeoh's father, Gong Gong, in the Oscar-winning film Everything Everywhere All at Once. Among the many honors and awards that movie received was a SAG award, the Screen Actors Guild. When James Hong stood before the audience with the cast and accepted the award for outstanding performance by a cast in a motion picture, he said, quote, "My first movie was with Clark Gable. The producer said the Asians were not good enough and they were not box office. But look at us now," end quote. In the first half of his career, he was one of the fortunate ones to always find work, even though most of the roles were the kinds Asian Americans look back on today as loaded with tropes and stereotypes. James Hong said, quote, "What could you do? Stop working? You had to take the roles that were given to you and do the best you can. So even if I was playing the part that simply said Chinaman or villain, I would put my heart and soul into that being," end quote. In front of the TCL Chinese Theater that opened in 1926, the forecourt contains all these big celebrity hand and footprints in cement. It's one of the busiest tourist attractions in Hollywood. Tradition says that it was either Barry Pickford or Norma Talmadge who accidentally stepped in the wet cement on their way to see Sid Grauman, who thought this was a great idea. Many stars have added their hand and footprints to the front of that fabled Hollywood movie palace. It took until 1991 before an Asian or Asian American actor was given the honor of having their hands and feet imprinted at the Chinese Theater. The immortal George Takei, as part of the cast of Star Trek, got the honor. Now there's also Jackie Chan, John Woo, Justin Lin, Zhao Wei, Huang Xiaoming, Lee Byung-hun, An Song-ki, Feng Xiaogang, Donnie Yen, Yoshiki, and now James Hong as well. As far as being honored this way, Hong had said, quote, I never dreamed to be there. I'm not parallel with those guys, but I'm so glad to be called chosen to be on that sidewalk because it's not only for me, but for the Asian Americans who'll be represented, and it'll be good for the image of Hollywood." End quote. Who can forget one of the stars from Lost, Daniel Day Kim? In 2020, he started a GoFundMe to raise $55,000 to get James Hong his star on the Walk of Fame. And then on May 10th, 2022, the star unveiling ceremony was held, and James Hong was the oldest artist ever to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's in front of Madame Tussauds at 6931 Hollywood Boulevard. One of Hollywood's many shining stars, Lucy Liu, from Jackson Heights, Queens, New York, she had posted about James Hong after his moment in front of the TCL Chinese Theater, quote, "His career, spanning over 7 decades, is a triumph over the systemic racism and discrimination that pervaded Hollywood for much of his life. Born in 1929, when radio was the only source of entertainment, he came of age at a time when Asian Americans faced blatant exclusion and prejudice. From the era of yellowface to the limitations placed on roles for Asian actors, he navigated a landscape marred by stereotypes and injustice with remarkable grace and fortitude. He defied the odds in an industry dominated by homogeneity." End quote. And our Congresswoman from California's 28th District, Judy Chu, she also honored James Hong on February 28, 2022, by enumerating his many accomplishments into the United States congressional record. In recognizing his many achievements as an entertainer, she also said, quote, "Unfortunately, Mr. Hong often faced discrimination on set, and many of the roles he was given were stereotypical, demeaning portrayals of Chinese people. Faced with the difficult choice of playing a character that was written in a racist manner or not working at all, Mr. Hong ultimately decided to continue his acting career, but worked tirelessly to bring complexity to roles that so frequently lacked humanity. When given a script for the 1962 film The Confessions of an Opium Eater, Mr. Hong was taken aback by the stereotypical negative depictions of Asian characters. So he organized a group to approach the director to argue that a rewrite of the script was needed to make its AAPI characters more human. Even though the director ultimately refused a rewrite, Mr. Hong remained committed to advocating for better, more just representation. Mr. Hong's dedication to shedding light on the abilities and accomplishments of AAPI artists is clear from the group's alumni, which include names like George Takei, John Cho, Daniel Dae Kim, Randall Park, and countless others. As one of the most accomplished actors in Hollywood history, James Hong has entertained and brought joy to innumerable viewers across the country and the world. Not only has Mr. Hong committed his entire professional life to entertainment, but has likewise dedicated himself to uplifting the abilities and careers of AAPI actors and has therefore paved the way for future generations of performers to come. It can be said with certainty that Mr. Hong has made an immeasurable, positive impact in the performing arts. It is my distinct honor to commemorate his career and life." End quote. After getting his star on the Walk of Fame, Daniel Dae Kim summed it up when he said of James Hong, quote, "It's so satisfying, for a number of reasons. First and foremost, he's earned it. It also gives me hope that other Asian American actors whose work has been overlooked will get their chance to be recognized, both by the public and during awards season. I also think it's so important that those of us lucky enough to work in the industry today acknowledge the achievements of those who came before us. It's one way we can show our gratitude for all the ways they blazed the trail so that we can walk an easier path today." End quote. James Hong, everybody. So let's bring down the curtain for now. James Hong, like my father-in-law, turned 95 this year, and his life and long and celebrated career is truly one enjoyable feel-good story that, for me, always makes me smile. Okay, I know many of you, especially outside the USA, are wondering when I'm going to get back to the Han, Tang, Song, Ming, and Qing dynasties. I'll see what I can do to accommodate you. Once in a while, you have to indulge me when I present these topics of particular interest to your humble narrator. So, until the next time, 亲爱的朋友们, this is Laszlo Montgomery signing off from Los Angeles, California, same city James Hong lives in. Please join me next time, won't you, for another exciting episode of the China History Podcast.